The devil was part of the original creation, and if you believe in God, then you must believe in the devil. But, of course, that's nothing to do with Christian religion at all. There are two influences. One for light, under which everything grows and blossoms, and one is darkness, in which everything decays and dies. And in any part of the world, within the year, the same hours of darkness and light supervene. And you have these two invisible influences striving for the soul of man. We don't know why, any more than we know what is eternity.
And you believe that light and darkness, right and left, good and evil, are two absolutely separate but equally powerful
warring powers. And the devil is only just a name for power of evil.
You referred just now to invisible influences. I'm perhaps a bit of a cynic, and I tend not to believe in these sort of things. Why do you believe in them?
Well, one invisible influence is, for example, the influence of the moon on the tides. There is good reason to suppose that all the planets have an influence on us. Hypnotism, which has been proved again and again, telepathy, which is beyond dispute now, dowsing for water, they are invisible influences.
How did you first get involved in this interest?
Only because I was gassed in the First World War, so I had to give up tennis and all other outdoor sports, so I read enormously, and I read a great deal of fiction, but I also read accounts of Egyptology and all the ancient religions and so on, and became interested in that sort of thing. So when I had written 3 very successful thrillers, I was just simply looking round for a new form of excitement and so on, and it suddenly struck me, well, why not write a book about the black arts, Satanism? So I wrote The Devil Rides Out, and since then, although I've written 60 books, only 8 of my books have been about the occult, but they've all been very successful.
You say that today the powers of darkness in its eternal war, the power of darkness in its eternal war with the power of light, is threatening to come out on top. If this continues on an ever-increasing scale, the inevitable result will be a return to the brutal lawlessness, poverty, and insecurity of the Dark Ages. Do you really believe that about the modern day?
I do believe that. The violence and that sort of thing that's going on today is unbelievable, and the government are not controlling it. And that doesn't go only for this country. It's all over Europe and the United States worse than ever. And they've just got to take a line.
Well, give me an example of how the power of darkness, as you call it, is operating in this town, in this country today.
Well, there are said to be over 300 covens in this country. Covens, that is 13 people making up a coven of witches. And they're increasing every day, I suppose, because the 2 world wars have made great insecurity with young people, and they're looking for something, you must have something to cling on to, and they are tempted by these evil people, not necessarily people who have real power, but evil people, to come to these parties with the promise, you want to marry the boss, all right, you come along on Tuesday, you have a little fun and that sort of thing, and so on. And that is where an immense amount of dope pushing, that sort of thing, goes on, because witches and their Sabbaths have always used drugs.
Do you know, have you met modern witches?
When I first wrote my first book on black magic, before I wrote it, I took the trouble to get an introduction to Aleister Crowley, to Rollo Ahmed, to Harry Price, Montague Summers, all of whom were top boys in that line. And I used to have them to lunch and dinner and talk to them. I had many conversations, but I've never dabbled in it myself, because I am absolutely certain no good can come of it, and you'll probably get so interested in this thing that you'll neglect your wife, you'll neglect your job, and there it is, if you're weak-minded, you can end up in a loony bin.
I wonder if you don't perhaps sometimes feel a sense of responsibility yourself for the state of affairs, because there is no doubt your books sell in absolutely fabulous numbers. Your
They
books
do?
about black magic. Are you catering for the very thing that you are against?
I can't believe that, because in every book I write, I always give a warning that this thing is evil, and no good can ever come to anybody who dabbles in it.
You haven't quite answered my question. Aren't you feeding the curiosity that is creating this evil?
No, I don't. I feel that by warning people, so many people are drawn into this thing, and I feel that I, at least, am in warning them. It's not a good thing to do.
Do you think they might ever strike at you?
No, I have complete confidence in my own protection, because they can only strike at people who are afraid and who believe that they can be harmed. And I don't. I don't say that I'm a particularly good person, but I believe that I'm on the right side And I believe the powers of light will protect me from anything that anybody could ever attempt about me.
But you're fearful the powers of darkness may take us over.
I think that civilization is disintegrating. Unless somebody takes a pull, things are getting worse and worse every year.